Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Wildcat Week. I'm Randall King in for Roger Alcock. Indiana Wesleyan athletics have been in full swing and the fall sports have now come to a close. The volleyball team just wrapped up a trip to the NAIA National Tournament in Sioux City, Iowa, and we're going to take a look at all of their matches from that event. But first, joining me now is Wildcat Volleyball head coach Candace Moats. Fresh off the trip to Iowa and fresh off a lot of experiences. We're going to see the highlights in a moment. We're going to relive them. But just to set the table a little bit, you've been there many, many times. What was different about this year's experience taking this team to the championship?
I think we came to the event from just the past year coming in differently just because I'm going to say this. God did something in my life this last summer, and I can't claim it. It just happened. And I brought a real freedom to this season, and it affected everybody. And even though we were super young and we had many people living in fear in their performances, it released something in us, and it was a journey of joy. And that honestly is the truth. That's how different it was, because nothing changed in regards to the opponents that we had to play or the level of competition.
Well, it's interesting to hear a veteran who has continued success say that you can learn new things and you can grow and you can get to a different place, which makes all of us who work with young people encouraged that we can find that kind of freedom and excitement as well. Yeah. Let's take a look at the highlights from the tournament, and what we're going to see is the concluding set from 3 different matches. So start us off here, Coach.
Yeah, well, this was Park, number 7 in the country. They were very successful all season, and we really felt like we had a matchup against them that we felt like we could really play with. And so we were kind of excited when we saw that we were taking sets from them, getting ourselves in the final position to possibly win this.
Here in the 5th set, you can see how close it is, 11-12.
We started out actually 5-1, and the trend is if you can jump in the 5th set and get yourself a lead, or even if you're leading at the switch at the 8, you feel like you can go the distance with this.
And it might have gotten by us real quickly, but that 15-12 there, a couple of mistakes, you said, now we move on.
Yeah, so now we are confident, and we're going in to play Corbin University, which was number 9. And again, feeling like, okay, this one was going to be a little harder because they had some really good middles, and that would be probably where we were mismatched. We didn't have quite the middles they had. So we were really focused on stopping the middles, and we were doing such a great job with it. But again, you can see the 5th game, we just didn't quite pull it out.
Yeah, a lot of things can happen in that, and then closing out here.
Well then, here's the cool thing about this story. Okay, so we were playing really earthly. You look at it and say we were playing for nothing because no one was going to advance into the Sweet 16 in this set. But we decided to go full force and just say, you know what, we're playing for something way bigger. We've been doing that all year. Why not go in here and just play for the glory of God? And we really were freed up. We played well, and we took them in 3. They were seated higher than us as well, but I was so proud. That was a moment that I was so proud of them. Even in that close set of set 2, we just really pulled it through and just played together so well.
That was still the 1st, and we're going to see the 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah.
And so tell us what you're seeing or what we're seeing here about different. To us, it all looks the same, but the freedom that they're playing with here.
Yeah. Just the sake that, when you're playing with freedom, you play all out. You go for the swing, and you don't care if you're going to get blocked. You go for the hard serve, even if it's going to be, you're conservative. You play in fear. You don't serve hard. You don't swing hard because you're afraid you're going to get blocked. There was just no fear there. So even though you may not be able to see that going on there, it was still a freedom out there that's like, we're going to play at the highest level we can, not fearing the fact that we might make a mistake by doing that.
And so the way these tournaments work, this is almost, I don't want to use the word consolation, but this is not to advance, but this is just playing for a defining statement and placement at the end of it.
You have a pool play, and so if you don't win in the first 2, if you're going into your last match 0-2, then you're not playing to get out of the pool play. you're just playing your third match to get out.
So we saw how those final scores played out. So
Yeah.
just to wrap this up, it's not ever easy looking at highlights that ended in a loss, but you look at this and I think you raise the bar in terms of what your players can expect for postseason. What do you take away? What do you begin to build on for next year?
Well, I just spent probably the last hour and a half talking to a very dear coaching peer, a friend of mine, that we both said to each other, the biggest thing that we learned this year of just freedom and understanding that we can, my whole motto this year was people before points. That was my whole motto this year. And how I saw the results of loving people before, I told the girls in the locker room, I said, we'll walk out of here with less points, but we're walking out of here with proud, changed people. And that, to me, is what I want to live on and I want to keep moving forward with.
Defining mark of this team, and you've had a lot of good ones, but that's the takeaway, people?
That's the takeaway. Love the people, and they'll play and run through a brick wall for you because we've got it right. We're playing for the right thing, and for us all to have that freedom, to be able to do that, we understand what matters. We talked with my friend, we talked about the trophies that are back in the closet in Lucky, that are dusted and all that. Those are just there sitting. They're nothing, but our people are walking around and they're changing lives, and they're changing the world, and they're leaving with friends, and it makes me emotional. It's there's something that changed in all of us, and I just want God to continue to do that in all of our lives.
You remind us all that playing the game is much more than those points at the end of the board.
So much more.
Yeah. Thank you, Coach Moats, and thank you to all your players. Congratulations for a wonderful season. It was inspiring to watch them, and even though it didn't finish out quite like you want, what a bar you set, character and everything, and it shows across that. Well, when we come back, we will talk about women's soccer and their trip to the NCCAA National Championship, so don't go away. More Wildcat Week. Well, welcome back to Wildcat Week. We have more national championship action to cover, and this time it's the women's soccer team's trip to Florida for the NCCAA Division I National Championship. And joining me now to break down that trip is women's head coach Tim Strader. And Coach, we're going to see some of those highlights in a moment, but what's it like when you know your NAIA season is over, but you have a chance to keep playing?
It was a phenomenal opportunity as a program. We've been rebuilding this program from scratch over the last 4 years, and to see us get all the way to this point and have an opportunity to go and play in the postseason with younger players who've not experienced that before was remarkable. I mean, not only that, but to do it in the NCCAAs with just the spiritual component was fantastic for our kids, their spiritual growth as well as their athletic.
I never met a coach who said it's not a good thing if you're continuing to play in the postseason, because that's practice, that's playing, that's experience, it's competition, right?
Absolutely. It's the extra two weeks of training leading up, and then just the experience of going that deep all the way to the very, very last day of your season that's a skill to go from August to December 2nd.
And as much fun as we've had watching your ladies play this year, it's great to see them continue to play. So let's take a look at some of those highlights from the first tournament games. And we're going to start off the bat here with group play against Columbia International University. Tell us what was going on here.
You see Tia Sanford taking the ball down the touchline, and then we had Madison Abbott, who's one of our juniors. That was the junior, finishing the ball at the top of the box on a good opportunity there.
Location again in Florida?
Kissimmee, Florida, just outside of Orlando.
Not a bad place to be.
Not at all, especially in December.
Especially on a day when it's snow flurries in the area in Marion.
And then on this one we have Lexus Garcia, who was just named NCCAA All-American, crossing the ball to
So in pool play, we win the first one 3-0. Now we go to Mid-America Christian. And again, I think characteristically you had very balanced scoring and very explosive scoring. It's been the way we've watched this team all year.
Absolutely. This team has set some records this year as they went for, I believe, 62 goals this year. And then coupled that with 15 shutouts, which was tied our school record as well. So this one, we got on the board early and often, and the girls just found found a good rhythm. We had a great set piece from one of our freshmen, Amy Jarin, from Simi Valley, California, that got us on the board early in this game.
That sets you up with the 5-0 win. Looks like scores we've seen many, many times. And then you move on to Southwestern Assemblies of God. This is a semifinal game.
Yes, and again, the girls just came out. They had a very dynamic striker. And Tia Sanford, our NAI honorable mention All-American, got us on the board early with a fantastic goal off the volley. To start us early in the first 10 minutes with a goal.
And her awareness all season, I mean, we can't say enough about it, but just her presence to know kind of when scoring situations are going to be there.
Absolutely. She is a special player. Ended up with 19 goals as a junior, which is, I mean, just absolutely unheard of.
And you've got to like also the other players that were able to make something happen in this win that ends up here 2-0, but it ends up 4-0 for the match and sets you up for the final. This is penalty kicks here.
Yep, Alexis Garcia drew a penalty where she got drugged down the box, and so she was able to convert that one to make it 3. And then Amy Jarin pops a first-time finish here as the ball squirts up to the top of the box, which was a fantastic goal from a freshman.
Great follow-up there.
Yeah, so we were very pleased. You know, it gave us an opportunity. You can see we got our 4th goal about 15 minutes left in the match, so we were able to rest some kids going into the final.
And the final against Biola, we'll get to that in just a moment, but when you keep winning things like 5-0, 5-0, 4-0, I know looking at your regular season, you've had some scores like that. Does that in any way challenge you that you always have those kinds of margins? Does that make it difficult then to get in a situation where you're not scoring like that?
It does a little bit. When we're used to shutting teams out and we're using the score goals early and often, especially when you meet a team like Biola, who's very talented. They had a first-team All-American center back. It created some challenges for us, but those are the challenges we want and we accept. So that's where our program's going to grow from.
Well, we're going to take a look at that, because I say that because we know it didn't end up with a win against Biola, and looking at those final scores, Biola's going to get the win 4-0 here. What was Biola bringing to the table that you had not seen before in this particular tournament?
They were just their athleticism across the board. They're a very solid NCAA Division II team that they had a remarkable season in their first year of Division II, finishing top 4 in one of the best conferences in the country. They tied a Division I team 1-1, so we knew we were going to have our hands full going into this match. And those are the kind of games that you want to play in a national championship. That experience that our girls got is going to propel them forward in the next year.
Specifically, what were the challenges for your defense? Did they just have 1 or 2 players that were always getting a lot of shots on goal, or was it their game situations, their passing? What were those challenges?
Sure. Remarkable team in the sense of just their athleticism across the board, but they really had an opportunity to they capitalized on an early mistake, and then just a rotation out of the back, which we very, very rarely had this year. And then second goal, girl got around the edge, and they got us on a set piece on the third one. So they were a very strong team that knows how to capitalize on mistakes.
2 scores coming down the stretch by Ashley Ramirez. Was that a player you were looking for?
Across the board, they were good. It was one of those things where you don't know who's going to step up for them. It just, you know, their center back was actually one of their keys, is they shut out everybody along the way on their pass. So kind of coming into this game, we knew this was going to be a good one.
So you end up with a score that looks like an IWU women's soccer score, but it goes the other way, the 0-4 in this case, but a lot of lessons learned. So wrap that up for us, both this tournament and also the season. What do you look back and say you learned?
The biggest thing is finishing 15, 4, and 3, and 2 of our losses were the teams that won national championships in Spring Arbor and Biola. And so that level of experience is what we need as a program. As we graduate 3 seniors and we return the core of this team going forward, it's an exciting time for women's soccer as
You made mention of some of your freshmen scoring and stepping up to roles, especially through this postseason tournament. That give you hope going into next year?
Absolutely. We return a solid sophomore and junior class that'll be upperclassmen next year that we really believe is a special foundation group. And then our freshmen, just figured it out as the season went on, and it was exciting to see them culminate with that opportunity to play in a national championship.
Well, they've made it fun to watch, and we've enjoyed watching you and look forward to the fall. It will
Excited.
be here before we know it, although it certainly doesn't feel like it now.
Exactly.
Tim Strader, IWU Women's head coach. Well, don't go away. We have a lot more Wildcat Week for you. When we come back, men's soccer played in a national final as well. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Wildcat Week. We have one last national championship tournament, and it's time for the men's soccer team's trip to Florida for the NCCAA Division I National Championship. And so we're going to talk about that first of all and look at highlights. Joining me is men's soccer head coach Luke Sanford, another coach that got to go to Florida, but you had to come back to December in Marion.
Yeah, but it was a good time away for sure.
We said this with Coach Strader. It's always good to keep playing in the postseason. Good for your guys too. I know it was kind of disappointing to have that abrupt end to the season, right? The start of the Crossroads League, but you get this chance to go forward. What did you build on there as a coaching staff?
Well, it gave us about 6 weeks, a month to 6 weeks extra to train what was a young group, a lot of new players this year, and so to have that time was really important. We did a lot of stuff off the field with the guys as well, just continuing to build culture and continuity, and it was a really useful time, so we're glad we had it. And yeah, I mean, we thought our conference tournament play ended abruptly, like you said, and we're unfortunate in that, and so we were glad to have the opportunity to keep playing.
Well, let's take a look at some of the highlights from the first tournament games. You go down to Florida, and your first matchup here is group play against Mid-America Christian. What happens here?
Yeah, it was a really even game. Mid-America were pretty good. They caused some problems for us. They had a striker that scored about 20 goals in the season, and so but yeah, we were able to break through in the second half and get something going, and then Glauber scored a great goal, but Andrew Wick had to come up big, sort of save us with a few minutes left with a penalty kick save, so it was a really good win.
Living on the edge like we've seen many times,
Yeah.
1-0, 1-0,
Yeah.
2-0, but you get the advance and you move on to Bethesda University of California. What did these folks present for you?
Very, very technical team, a lot of quality in their group, very emotional group, and so it was a game that interestingly enough, about 15 minutes left, we knew we'd move through with a 1-0 loss, so the game was actually a bit of a stalemate, which is obviously an interesting way to end it, which meant we had to play them again 2 days later.
Yeah, I was going to say you don't get to say goodbye to them, but turn this around. Did you learn something from playing those guys that just inspired it, or was just a totally different situation?
And part of it was working on set pieces. So you saw a goal by Douglas Oliveira right there, running a set that we had changed and sort of changed up the way we were going to do some stuff on corner kicks, and gave them obviously a second penalty kick to tie things late in the first half there.
But you come back, I guess, are we in the second here, and a lot more.
Yeah. I mean, really emotional, very physical game.
Oh, a red card.
And you can see that they got a red card. They ended up getting 3 red cards in the game. Really proud of the way our group held their composure. Obviously a hard tackle right there and a lot of coming off of it. And just proud of the way we were able to actually respond off of that foul with our game-winning goal here. CJ Strauser off the double back from Douglas Oliveira.
And that puts you up 2-1. And then, like you said, coming back here.
Yeah, I mean, late in the game, we're actually playing the game 11v8 right now. So, pretty bizarre situation. I've never been a part of a game like that in my life, to be honest with you. That many red cards and that much emotion, and it was pretty clear both teams really wanted to continue their season, and so I was proud of the guys to keep their composure, stay with our plan, keep playing the way that we felt like we needed to play to win the game. And
staying in one place and playing a tournament like this at any level, is there something special that happens culturally as sort of seeing some of these teams again and interacting with them?
Yeah, there's potential for all kinds of things.
Yeah, right.
Because you see people around the hotel and that kind of thing. So yeah, there was some cool stuff. A few of the other schools had some international guys as well. There were a few Brazilians that kind of hit it off with some of our Brazilians, and for me personally, I got to see some old friends. My old coach was down there, to see those kind of people. But there's also the potential for, to see guys that you had a heated game against the day before. But everything stayed kosher. It was good. It's a great experience. The NCCA does a really good job. Obviously, Dan Wood is a former coach here, and he's running the thing now, and does a really good job with it.
Well, let's go to the highlights of that final match where
Yeah.
you have to go back here against Southwestern Christian University.
Yeah, and Southwestern Christian are a really good team. finished second in their conference, and they finished second to Wayland Baptist, who won the NAI tournament this year.
Start off real quickly with an injury. What happened there?
Yeah, I mean, Andrew Wick obviously comes into a little collision there, and we're actually still kind of waiting on MRI results from that, but separated shoulder and was out for the rest of the game. Andrew's had a huge season for us, but Lucas Fancello has played a lot of minutes. He's played in championship games before transferring here, and so we still felt confident putting Lucas in the game.
What did you see from Southwestern Christian? It's great to get in that final match, but what did they bring that made it so tough?
They brought experience. You could tell they had played in the final before. And the first half was really just a stalemate. I think neither team wanted to make mistakes. Both teams wanted to play it safe. And we made some adjustments, perhaps in my youth, perhaps just out of my personality. We came out wanting to swing first, and so we made some adjustments, put more numbers going forward, tried to be more attacking in how we wanted to approach things. And they scored their first goal off of a really, really, really well-worked counterattack. I mean, just a great goal by them. And obviously that changes things. 1-0 in a final, they're going to sit back and try to play for the 1-0 win. And so later in the game, able to pull a second one out as we push more numbers forward. And really proud of the guys. There was there's never a quitting moment in the game. It was a tough game, and Southwestern's a really good team. I think a team that probably was on the bubble to get into the NAI national tournament as an at-large team. So they had a lot of quality and experience, and a team that I thought we played a really good game, just came out on the short end.
Well, let's close this season out. You said you had some young players. You get that chance to get them some experience, some tournaments, some postseason play. What are you looking for now next year to build off that?
Yeah, I mean, Jacob Singer is our only senior that's going to be leaving next year. Andrew Wick will be coming back for a 5th year. Ciro Castro is redshirting and he'll be back. So, I mean, the continuity that we're going to have, the chance to play in a final with a group that's going to be coming back next year. I think we had a lot of really good individual performances throughout the year. Glauber Oliveira was an NAI All-American, so proud of him, the goals he scored for us. I think looking to build towards next year, this tournament was a great opportunity. I also saw a lot of growth while we were down there compared to who we were, again, 6 weeks to 2 months ago. In a game like that, Bethesda game that got heated like that, I think that there would have been much more potential for us to lose our cool, someone to act without poise, and I think the guys showed a lot of poise and character in that game. So really, really proud of the growth that the team's had and the maturity that they've had throughout this season, and that's what you want to see as a coach, and proud of our staff's work with them and the guys taking to the plan, and excited to continue to work through the spring and build towards next year.
Well, it's been fun to watch them play and to get to this postseason level.
Yeah,
and
thanks so much.
Looking forward to next year. Coach Luke
Appreciate
Sanford of the IWU men's soccer program. So now let's look at some highlights from the men and women's basketball games recently. The men got off to a quick start in the game on Tuesday night at Lucky Arena as they faced the Marion Knights. Freshman Kyle Mangus with a jumper inside the lane. The Wildcats defense allowed them to get the shots they wanted on the offensive end of the floor, and they held the Knights to 24 points below their season average. Mangus put on a show where he finished the night with 34 points while only shooting 17 shots. He went 6 for 8 from behind the three-point arc. The Wildcats go on to win with a final score 89-71. Again, great record so far in the very competitive Crossroads League. The women faced off against the number 4 ranked and defending national champion Marion Knights on Wednesday evening in Lucky Arena. Now, they were able to get off a quick start from the jump. They get the ball inside to Nicole Ignashik, and the Wildcats then continued battling throughout that first half. They were tied up coming out of halftime. Continued getting the ball inside the paint in the second half, and they were able to get shots they wanted. 2 seniors got great shots as Anna Imhoff led the way with 21 points. The other senior, Brittany Washington, pushed the ball down the floor to get some quick layups. And then a 3 from Dayton Groninger would be the go-ahead basket to put the Wildcats on top of the Knights. The Wildcats win a very hard-fought game and an important game, a final score 72-67, and they stay undefeated in Crossroads League Conference play. And that is all we have for you on this episode of Wildcat Week. If you'd like to see more of Wildcat Week, you can go to our website. It's wiwutv.com, and you can see past episodes. Also check our website, our YouTube link. It's youtube.com/wiwutv51. Stay connected with all of our local programming by subscribing to YouTube, as we said. Again, it's WIWU-TV51. We do look forward to seeing you next week. For all of us here, thanks for watching.